by strengthening the grip, feeling like you're almost going to push a big button down. Just by doing that and swinging as they normally would, they're going to see a much different ball flight.
Okay, Pat, let's talk about impact, mate. And we're going to talk about the two most common patterns that we see. The first would be a player who tends to have a bowing of this wrist, and that would generally result in what ball flight? Draw, and lower than anything as well, wouldn't it? Now, the alternative to that, and the majority of amateur golfers would tend to be in this one here, which is
going to be a higher ball flight, curving more to the right fade.
Correct. So we can see that just through changing the wrist angles, right, has a dramatic effect on our potential to create a compressed strike, increasing the ball speed, lowering the spin, therefore giving us overall more distance. We would see that nearly every professional golfer out there would tend to always have that bowing.
Correct.
Because
helps bring the low point further forward.
Correct. So, and we would see that most amateur golfers would tend to be back here. So when working on these wrist angles and the differences between what the amateur does and the professional, now a lot of players would be trying to do this at the moment of impact. And they're trying to overcomplicate the golf swing by trying to make all these adjustments very quickly in this 0.25 of a second in the downswing. But by making some grip adjustments at address, possibly, and also early in the backswing, everything down at the moment of impact can happen at an effect rather than a conscious manipulation, which when you're out there playing, you don't want to be doing that, right?
Correct.
So let's take the common model of the amateur golfer who tends to have the handle back, the lead wrist cup, the face opening, the path going left. What's a movement they could make at address or an adjustment with their left hand, being a right-hander? And then what should they feel as they take the golf club back here, and give us a reference of club face angle. All right?
Sure.
So I'll set up here and then walk me through it.
So the first thing that I would say is the majority of people that have that open club face hitting a higher fade shot where the handle is not in front, it's behind, are going to have a weaker left hand.
Yeah.
Right, so it's where it's more in the palm, right? They're not getting that pad on top of the club that allows the club to hinge and create more energy into the golf ball.
Yeah.
So by strengthening the grip, feeling like you're almost going to push a big button down, getting the club more in the fingertips, just by doing that and swinging as they normally would, they're going to see a much different ball flight.
And I just to make a quick note on that, a lot of players might get a little bit confused about this because they go, well, aren't I increasing this cupping, right? Because they go, well, isn't it simple as if I have a flat left wrist here, that's going to help me have a flat left wrist or a bowed wrist at the top and then help me at impact. But the problem is that our arms are designed, if we just let them hang, with a bit of this rotation here, right?
Correct.
You can see that our palms are naturally going to roll a little bit in. So if we were to manufacture a grip in which this palm here was facing more back towards the camera, well, throughout the golf swing, it's going to naturally want to return back to its position. As a result, the face is open. So subconsciously, we're going to start scooping to try and match that up. So even though we are increasing what would possibly feel like the thing at impact that we don't want, that actually positions the golf club in the hand to allow us to let the weight of the club head throughout the motion let this wrist naturally flatten. So I think that's very, very important to understand here. It might feel and look weird if you're not used to this, but it is an important part of this. It's not a matter of just simply turning your hand over, because then we're going to miss the whole important concept of the grip pressures and the tension within the hands there. So we've got it now in the address, mate. What do we do from here to ensure that we're not keeping it cupped?
I'm a big fan of feeling in the trail hand or right hand, or right-handed golfer, pushing down and away as you get that club to parallel.
I love that. I love that. Now, a lot of players will, in my opinion, try and manipulate this by using their arms. They will try and pull the handle away. And the right hand, for the right-hander, for a lot of players, is just a passenger that kind of sits there and doesn't do anything. Now, a great little test for players to do is take their left hand off the golf club, and if they were to make the motion that the majority of them would, is the golf club head's going to feel very, very heavy, right? And that's where we would see a lot of players. They go, well, the club face is okay. Maybe my left wrist is okay, but my right arm is retracted a lot, and the golf club head feels very heavy. Now, we need to create hinge in the golf swing to create power and speed. So from that, if I move the club head first, well, now all of a sudden, we can see the back of the wrist starts to have a little bit of extension here. Then I put my left hand on. Well, now I'm starting to create that hinge as we move through this piece that starts to look like a professional.
Yep.
So I think the feeling of that palm pushing down on the thumb's excellent.
Correct. And it helps keep the club head outside of the hands, which would be another way to think about that, so that you can set it up at the top.
Yeah, absolutely love that. So just having that awareness and feeling in the address position, number one, that as we can see that the pad of the hand is on top, and then we take the grip. And then from there, as we move the golf club back, it's almost a feeling of that back hand, the right hand for the right hander, is kind of pushing down on that thumb, which helps decrease this angle as we have both hands on. And then from there, as we can see, we're starting to set the golf club nicely. Wrist angles are going to be a lot more conducive to getting that power at impact, right? I would, for the majority of players, not trying to manipulate it too much at the moment of impact for sake of making it too complex to reproduce when they're out playing. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
What other little piece are we going to get a benefit of feeling that press there? What are we looking at?
Well, first and foremost, it's going to flatten the lead wrist, which is what we talked about, the importance of that earlier. Yep. And second, it's going to increase the sensation of feeling the butt of the club or the butt of the grip into that pad on your lead hand.
Yeah. So a couple of 2-for-1 little deals there that help a lot with just putting together this understanding that the wrist must start in some form of this little extension or cupping here. Then just through that awareness, like you said, of pushing that palm down, we can see that the lead wrist here flattens, the club face puts itself into quite a nice strong orientation, which would be quite different from a lot of players. And then from there, as the body would then move throughout, it's going to help us get back into this quite, let's say, neutral or functional position to get that compressed strike.
Yes, sir.
Okay, mate, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow that little grip routine. We're going to put the pad of the hand on first, then in the fingers. From there, I'm just going to bring some awareness to my back hand, pushing down on the thumb. Straight away, we can see that club face is now in a better spot. Swing through. Let's hit one down there just with that sensation. I'm just going to chip one down there, see how it comes off. It was by far the best strike.
Sounded great.
Out of the lot there, and you can see just for a little shot, divot was really good. Dead straight. Mate, love it. Good job.